Hi everyone, my name is Li Yuanjing. I'm now in the city of Yueyang of Hunan province. We are now in a natural reserve of wildlife. Together with us, we have the representatives of the protection administration of this reserve and also the Academy of Forestry. Today, we're about to equip 10 representative migratory birds with the trackers. For our guests, we can also find researchers, for example, Professor Niu. I've noticed that you have carried one tracker with you. So in a moment, you're about to equip the migratory bird with the same model of the tracker. As we can weigh this miniature equipment is not so heavy, and we also have the photovoltaic battery which would be powering up this tracker. What makes this tracker so different from the precedent generations is that it carries a built-in miniature camera with it, so it allows us to have the first-person selfie perspective for us to know the real life of our birds. Why do we need to select this kind of camera? For the traditional trackers, they allow us to know where the birds are, to which height they have reached. But with this latest generation of tracker, we know where they are and how high they are, with which other groups of birds they are communicating, and what kind of food intake they have found, for example. It will help to support our studies on their behaviors and also let us know in which way they are communicating with the others. It's quite interesting because we are about to have the first-person selfie perspective of the real winter life of these migratory birds. And our workers here, they are about to equip the migratory bird with this equipment. And which species is this one? This is a little swan. How much time or what are the steps to do the installment? First of all, we have to get ready with the protection. For example, as you can see, our workers, they are in the protective gowns. They are fully equipped in the first place. For example, they are wearing the protective glasses, they are wearing the masks, and they are also in protective gowns. And why is that? The reason why they have to be protected in this way actually is due to two reasons. First of all, to protect the humans, and the second is to protect the birds. For example, we all carry the bacteria with us. It's the same on both sides for human beings as well as for the birds. When our workers are in the protective gowns, it's a great way to fight against contamination and fight against the infection. And also, with this similar color to the birds, they will feel less stressed. And now we have to help the birds to get rid of the covering on the head, and we have to do some measuring. We have to measure the basic parameters. For example, the length of the beak. As far as I can tell, it's still very active. It's very energetic bird. During the installment, previously, for the precautions' sake, we have to make an observation. We have to check out whether it's in a suitable status for the observation. Is it hurt in some part of the body, and is it sick? Is it in good mental status? Does it have any problem in flying, in standing, etc.? Just now we have completed with the measurement of the head part, and we have to put the covering back again. it's also for the consideration of protection of the birds. For the little swan, it's not moving when it has its eyes blinded. And once we remove that covering, the birds could start to observe the environment and they could become immediately very active. And with the violent movements, they could hurt themselves. This is an adult swan. And we have just measured the body length. This is a length of 1.06 meters. This is a normal body length, and we're also about to measure its length of the tail. Why it's so important to collect these data? So maybe next time in the future we can do some comparison between the birds from different periods, and also for the same bird, what is the changes with the body. And now our workers is also carrying out some massage. This is to calm down the bird and also to get the feathers ready, so the bird will not feel uncomfortable with the carrier equipped on the body. Now we are putting the tracker on the body of the bird. During the installment, we also have a lot of precautions. In the end, it's a brand new object attached to the body of the bird. You have to make sure that there's no discomfort to the bird. It will be a tracker carried on the back by the bird. And to which direction is aimed our camera? It's towards the tail direction. And now we are making a knot. This person making the knot is Mr. Xiao Biwen. And this is an engineer of the company that has developed this tracker. You have made a knot with a stretching of 30 centimeters. It's based on the body type and length of this bird, so that the digestive tract will not be blocked. So we will try our best to talk in low voices so that this whole process of installment of tracker will not be disturbed. As you can see, first of all, we made a knot and then we attach the equipment on the back of the bird. Previously, we were talking about the low temperatures, and we've noticed that in the province of Hunan, the temperature is cold and wet. It's also raining a little bit. In preparation to this live stream program, we have also discussed about the name of our little swan, and we decided to call it Little Rain. This one is quite friendly to human beings. It's not very small in size, but still it's not that stressed. Some of the birds, they could really panic during the installment. And now we are readjusting the equipment and also the ropes. We don't want to tie this equipment in too tight a way or in too loose a way. If it's too tight, then absolutely it will hurt the body of the bird. If it's too loose, and it will have the risk of falling down. So you have to make sure that the tying rope would be adjusted to a certain degree that we will minimize the discomfort created to the bird. Do you have a criteria to tell whether it's too tight or it's too loose? When it's finished, when the final knot is made, you can still squeeze 1 or 2 fingers inside the room. So it's about 1 finger's extra room. As is demonstrated by our worker here. And this means now the tracker has been correctly and comfortably tied up to the bird. Why do we have to make the bird stand up and sit down from time to time? Because it's a way to make sure that the tying up of this tracker could reach the best degree, and we also have to make sure that the tracker is attached to the body in a comfortable way. We are using the rope to attach the tracker to the back of the bird. We also have to use some glue to fully close the knot. This is the last step. We cut the extra rope, and now we are using the glue to consolidate the knot. And for the tracker, how can you make sure that on the one hand you can carry on with your scientific studies, and on the other hand you make sure that it will not disturb their daily life? First of all, we have to control the weight of the tracker as much as we can, and the company has studied and researched during a long time. They have calculated to know that if the tracker has a weight that would not exceed 3% of the body weight of the carrier bird, then it will not create too much discomfort. So for each of the carrier birds, they will carry a tracker of which the weight will not exceed their own body weight by 3%. And then we have to tidy up the feathers so that during the takeoff and during the flight, they will not feel that there is a strange object attached to the back. And this bird is carrying this strange object after returning to the family. Will the others be so curious about the new object carried by this little swan? Of course, in the first place, all the others would be curious, and they will have some confusion. Will the others start to attack the strange object? It's possible. So that's why we have to get the knot ready. Now is the moment of the takeoff. Farewell, our little rain. And during this process, we have to observe the status of the bird. And this one is so energetic. The moment we release the bird, it takes off immediately. Now it's already out of sight. And now, could you please tell us what is the first action of this bird? Due to some artificial interactions, this bird will more or less have some stress. So he will try his best to fly away from us, and then he will find a place to have some food, try to rejoin the family, find a place as the habitat so that he can have some rest. And this whole installment process has been wonderful. For our tracker, there must be a lot of information collected and sent back. What kind of information are you collecting with the tracker? First of all, we can get to know the location of this bird. For example, for the same species of the bird, with the tracker installed, we can first of all record the information about this single bird, to which height this bird has reached, the temperature around, environmental factors. All these information and data collected would support our further researches and studies. So we can get to know the body temperature and also environmental temperature, the activity. And we can know what is the current status of this bird. What about the food intake and also the daily activities? Usually for each of the birds, they have a fixed area of activity, and you get to understand why this bird has chosen this particular area for their daily activity. And we get to know its preference for the selection of habitats. It will help us to do a better job in the biological system recovery and restoration. Let's get back to the tracker. In our hands, we have one model. It's the same type of tracker that we have attached to the little swan. What distinguishes this one with the previous traditional ones is that this latest generation of the tracker has a built-in miniature camera and also a solar battery. Are there any modules inside that are so special within this tracker? For example, we have the modules for the collection, the storage, and feedback of the information. You've mentioned that this will help to register a huge amount of information. How can we get the information back? We can use the telecommunications signal and also satellite system. When we have the network service available, we can enjoy a real-time feedback of the information. Sometimes when the bird arrives in a place where the signal or the connection of communication is not so good, then the information can get to us in delay. Sometimes the birds will get to areas where there's no human activity. So for the tracker side, first of all, it will register the information and stock temporarily the information. Later on, when it's connected to the internet, we can have the information back. Previously, you also mentioned that the weight of this tracker should not exceed 3% of the body weight of the bird. Does it mean that the smaller you make this tracker, the more widely you can apply this tracker to more birds? Today we have the smaller version of the trackers. So what about this weight? It's 0.3 grams. It's about half the fingernail, and it has also this. And what about this one? The previous one could be attached to the body surface of the bird. The second one is also very light in weight. For some smaller sizes of birds, of which the body weight is just several dozens of grams, you can use this smaller size of trackers. And you can also make the birds carry these trackers because you can see the two holes. Because you have the antenna here, and this one is extremely little with total weight of 0.3 grams, so it can be attached to a bird with a body weight of 10 or little more than 10 grams. Considering the body weight of the hummingbird, you can even use this tracker to register the flight information of the hummingbird. For the installment of the tracker, we can have many choices in order to prevent the disturbance created by the tracker to the daily life of the bird. For example, you can have the wearable equipment. You can attach this equipment to the back of the bird. For some of the birds, they will feel so uncomfortable that they will turn around their neck and start to attack the equipment. For some birds with longer neck, you can use a ring size equipment to circle around their neck. This is another option to reduce the disturbance to the normal life of the bird. For our feather trace action, how long does it endure? It depends on the process of our installment of the tracker. In total, as is mentioned before, we will equip 10 representative migratory birds with these trackers. Later on, we will keep a close eye on these birds to see whether there's discomfort of the birds or is there any problems. If there are any negative impact on the birds, immediately we will recall these trackers and release the bird freely. Why do we have to trace the birds? What's the significance of doing that? First of all, for the birds, let's take the swan as an example. We can study the changes of the species group development and to which direction they are heading and to which places they are flying, where will they settle down, and what is the rate of mortality, etc. We will, in the end, keep a close eye on the overall development of the group. Because they are migratory birds, they will not settle down in one fixed site just as humans do. They will change places. So we need to have a bigger picture in mind. We have to consider more than one side for the protection of the birds. And with the information collected, it will also facilitate our cross-border or inter-regional collaboration for the ecosystem restoration. In order to better protect the wildlife, first of all, we have to get more knowledge about them. For example, their preferences for food and habitat. Where will they land and all the other information. Talking about the food intake, we are now in the Hunan Lake. We are now in a natural reserve. For the Dongting Lake, it's composed of the east, the west, and the southern parts of the Dongting. And for our current location, it's located in a bottleneck connection connecting the western southern part of the Dongting Lake with the eastern part of the Dongting Lake. In the rainy seasons, all these grounds would be flooded, and in dry seasons, you can see more bare lands exposed to the air. You can also find this green vegetation. So, Professor, I have a question for you. In this season, what would be the main food source for our birds? For these moss grass, they would start to grow after the end of the rainy season. Which species of the birds would love this food? Usually, we can find this kind of sedges by the riverside or by the lakeside. In a normal year, at the end of October, we will close the rainy season and the sedge will start to grow up. And by then, different species of the geese would come to this ground to have the food intake. Especially they have the preference for the tender grass of hedge. The geese, the ducks would like this one. And also on the wetland, just by our side, you can find some plovers. Different types of plovers would come to settle down temporarily on the wetland. And what is the food intake or preferences for the plover? They will eat some shells and sometimes the small shrimps and small fish. So they will catch their food from the river, from the lake. The plovers will walk around on the lakeside and they can find some shell creatures. What about the white birds? That is egrets. You have the white and the great egrets. The white egret, they are more proactive in searching for foods. They will make large strides by the side of the river or by the side of the lake, and sometimes they'll walk into the water and catch the fish themselves. But for the gray aigrettes, they are more elegant and they are waiting for the food to come to them. They will wait patiently for the fish to swing towards its side, and then it will just do a simple grab. Do we have a lot of fish here in the Dongting Lake? Not too many. Okay, my friends, if you still remember our little swan called the Little Rain, the tracker carried by the little swan has sent back the latest information. Today is December the 24th. Just several minutes ago, we got one video clip sent back. As far as we can tell from the video, the little swan is still flying. So it's a video captured during the flight. Because we have just released this little swan about 10 to 15, and during this moment it must be still flying. It's not in the static status. I hope that you can also see clearly this video captured by the tracker. Sorry for the raindrops on the screen. So let's replay the video. And that is the information sent back by the tracker. You can not only read out the message collected on the terminal of your laptop, but also you can keep a close eye on the flight of the birds with your mobile phone. Today we have installed the tracker with 2 little swans, and we have released the little swans. So we have used the weather conditions to name 2 little swans. The first one is called Strong Wind, the other is called Little Rain. We have also received the video sent back from the Strong Winds, the first little swan that we have released. Around 1:40 p.m. we have received this video. It's also during the flight. This is also a tracker carried by the little bird. So what we can see from the video is the image towards the tail side, and we can still see the lake surface, and sometimes the view would be blocked by the striking wings. These are real-time images captured by the migratory birds. And if necessary, we also need to readjust the angle of the camera, otherwise the view would be blocked. What about the statistics collected by the tracker, especially in the scientific research? We can use it in multiple ways. For example, for this video, for a normal tracker, for traditional tracker, we know only where they are. But today we know the interactions between this carrier bird with the other birds, their communication, their interactions. We know their daily activities. In that way, we have a broader vision on the daily life of these birds, and we can have a much bigger picture. Thank you very much, Professor Niu. Today, we have launched a feather trace action, during which we will equip 10 representative migratory birds with the tracker. Today, we have completed the installment of the tracker with 2 little swans, and we have just shared with all of you the real-time video registered and sent back by the tracker. So that is all for this part of the live stream program. Thank you very much for staying with us. See you next time. Bye-bye.